In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing with you the top 10 NHL players who have scored the most game-winning goals in the past 5 seasons. Some of the names on this list might surprise you, and that's coming up next. Alright, kicking off our list is number 10 is Brad Marchand of the Boston Bruins. Brad Marchand has scored 32 game-winning goals in the past 5 seasons. Now, a little disclaimer here as well. Some of these guys have tied with each other. There are a few ties on the list. What I've used for a tiebreaker is games played. I figure it's fair to go with the player with the lower amount of games played to be ranked ahead, since they've been able to accomplish the same statistics in a fewer amount of games in less time. So obviously Brad Marchand's been a good scorer in his whole career. He's really improved in the last few years as well, but not surprised to see him on this list. Not always a fan of Brad Marchand's antics on the ice, but there's no doubt he's clutch when it matters most and gets the job done. Coming up next at number 9 is Tyler Seguin of the Dallas Stars. Now, of course, as I mentioned before, Tyler technically is tied with Brad Marchand, but has played fewer games, so he gets the nod to go up to number 9 on this list. Obviously, Tyler Seguin was a very high draft pick and has turned out to be a phenomenal NHL player, having a great career. For some reason, I'm not really sure why the Boston Bruins ever traded away Tyler Seguin. I know there was a lot of rumors about him being a partier and having some immaturity issues, but you might argue one of the biggest mistakes they've ever made. Tyler Seguin has proved to be a prolific scorer in this league and will be for years to come, as he's still only 25 years old. Coming up next on our list at number 8 is Joe Pavelski. Obviously, Joe Pavelski has made a pretty good career so far of himself with the San Jose Sharks. Obviously, playing with great players like Big Joe Thornton, Logan Couture, Patrick Marleau certainly helped his cause. But I think Pavelski deserves a lot of credit for being a top-notch goal scorer and scoring at clutch times to give his team a lot of victories. Obviously, Joe Pavelski is still at a fairly young age and should be a long-term scorer in this league. Next up, we've got John Tavares coming in at number 7. Tavares is technically tied with Pavelski, but once again gets the nod to be ranked higher on this list due to fewer games played. That's mostly due to a knee injury he suffered back at the Olympics a few years ago. Obviously, John Tavares has been a prolific goal scorer his entire career, and he's still at a young age, so I expect that to continue. The big question around Johnny T is, will he be with the Islanders long term, or is he heading into free agency this summer and signing elsewhere? Down in the comments, do you think Tavares is going to stay with the Islanders, or is he leaving and heading out of town? Next up, number 6 is Patrick Kane. Now, Patrick Kane technically is tied with John Tavares and Joe Pavelski, but once again gets the nod to rank higher than both of them due to fewer games played. Obviously, Patrick Kane has been a prolific scorer his whole career, a former number 1 overall draft choice, 3-time Stanley Cup winner. I certainly expect more big things to come. Patrick Kane is still a fairly young man, and will expect to go way up this list as time goes on. Obviously, he's got a chance to play with some great players like Artemi Panarin, Jonathan Toews, Brandon Saad, just to name a few. But I'm not surprised to see Kane way up this list. He's always clutch when the time matters most, scoring a Stanley Cup winning goal a few years back as well. Next up, number 5, Captain Sirius himself, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane's best buddy in Chicago. Obviously, he only outranks Kane by 1 game-winning goal. Both of them have been clutch their entire careers with the Blackhawks, winning multiple Stanley Cups, and in Toews' case, winning multiple gold medals. He certainly knows how to score the big goals when they're needed most, and I'm not surprised to see him rank high in this list. He's not always at the top of the scoring list in the NHL every year, but he is certainly one of the best all-time players, one of the best two-way players, and scores big goals when they matter most. Next up on our list at number 4 is Steven Stamkos. Stamkos technically does have the same number of game-winning goals as Jonathan Toews, but ranks higher due to our factor of playing fewer games. Obviously, Steven Stamkos has had some pretty significant injuries in the past couple of seasons, which has certainly reduced his games played, which makes his ranking on this list even more impressive. Yet another former first overall draft choice to make this list. We certainly see a trend with that. Stamkos is one of the most lethal releases we've ever seen in recent memory, and hopefully he can rebound from his injuries and actually have a healthy season and put up some more Steven Stamkos type numbers Next up, number 3, we've got Jeff Carter of the Los Angeles Kings. I personally think of all the players on this list, when I was doing the research, this is the one that surprised me the most. Obviously, I'm not surprised that Carter has good statistics. I know he's been a great player for a long time. However, you don't always see him this high on scoring lists in the NHL. I guess also a factor for me personally was that I'm an East Coaster, so I don't get to see the West Coast games quite as much. So maybe there's some more hidden gems out in the West that I just wasn't aware that was quite so high scoring and so clutch like Jeff Carter. Next up on our list, number 2 is Max Pacioretty of the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, I was a little bit surprised that Max is ranked so high. I am not surprised he's certainly cracked the top 10. So I've seen him play many times. And certainly a clutch player for the Habs for a long time now. Been consistently a 30 to 40 goal man for a number of years. Certainly heavily relied upon in Montreal, becoming their captain recently as well. You get the argument quite a bit with the Habs that the Carey Price factor. Carey Price will take them as far as he can, and other than that, they don't have a lot. Personally, I've always been, a bit of a believer in that statement. At the same time, though, there is a statement to be made that Max Pacioretty plays a huge role for that team, and he does contribute to a lot of not only a lot of the offense, but a lot of the most important goals at crucial times. When they need a big goal, they go to Pacioretty, and he's their man. Personally, I think the only reason why Pacioretty doesn't come to mind with more people when you're talking about a list like this is that he hasn't had a tremendous amount of playoff success. As soon as the Montreal Canadiens go on a run and he can be linked with some of the top game-winning goals in playoff history, I think he'll be much more of a come-to-mind type of player for a lot of fans around the league. Number 1 on our list is the great 8, Alex Ovechkin. I'm sure many of you probably aren't too surprised by this. Ovechkin has been a top scorer in the NHL for a long time, and he certainly has been captain clutch for the Washington Capitals. I think the only knock really on Ovechkin is he hasn't been able to get it done in the playoffs. But don't be surprised. He has 4 more game-winning goals than any other player in the NHL in the past 5 seasons during the regular season. So if he can break through in the playoffs, that will certainly cement his legacy as one of the greatest all-time players. Alright, so there's your top 10. To recap, here's the list again in case you forgot any. Weighing in at number 10, we got Brad Marchand. Number 9, Tyler Seguin. Number 8, Joe Pavelski. Number 7, Johnny Tavares. Number 6, Patrick Kane. Number 5, Jonathan Toews. Number 4, Steven Stamkos. Number 3, Jeff Carter. Number 2, Max Pacioretty, and our leader for this list is Alex Ovechkin. Of course, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're a major hockey fan and you love these types of lists, hit that subscribe button. And if you leave a comment for me down below, what type of top 10 list would you like me to put together next? Thanks very much for watching, and have a great day.